Alrighty everyone, welcome back to another Project Zomboid guide video. Today, I decided to cover some basic base building tips and tricks to try to hopefully have you all survive a little bit longer in this tough apocalypse. I'm a bit of a slow learner in-game and real life, so after around 700 hours of playing this game, I can hopefully pass on to you in just this video. Anyways, let's get started. Location is pretty massive when you want a nice and fortifiable base camp to stay at for a while, so make sure you have a building or home in mind so that you can prepare accordingly. Unless you're like me who just wanders in eternal nomadic damnation, waiting for one base to really click. The first thing to look at would be proximity to nearby areas to loot, as you want to make sure that looting runs won't be too far-fetched. But you also don't want to be too close to towns if you're new to the game, as it increases the risk factor, because obviously, the closer you are to town, the more idiots you will see on the day-to-day apocalypse business. Some other features you want to look for is a fence to where you can effectively choke point zombies, the size and scale of a building, as having a 2-story base will be crucial in base defense if you want to have an invulnerable defense down the line. For my example, I will be choosing Riverside High School because it's located inside the town, which is a bit dangerous but still doable with my combat experience. It also has a spacious interior with the 2nd story, and an easily accessible rooftop. Lastly, it has a ton of storage and furniture, which can be used for both storing and barricading the entrances. Now, in order for things to go smoothly, having some items and a little bit of prep before will be well needed. So what you want to have, or at least keep on the priority list, goes as follows. A sledgehammer is a massive help as it allows you to destroy just about every tile in the game, which can really open up a lot of options. Though this one isn't as needed as the others, as you can still secure a base without it, it's just not as good as it could be. You'll find these usually in boxes or warehouses throughout the map. Up next is a hammer, screwdriver, and saw. These three are the most essential to your base defense, as without all three of these tools, carpentry becomes increasingly difficult as you can't disassemble or pick up objects without them. You also need a hammer to build fortifications, and a saw to process logs into planks, which you will need a lot of. So if you see any of these, don't pass them up because you will need them later down the line. Nails are equally as important, but a little down the priority line as you can just disassemble furniture for them, if you're in a pinch. It is good to have a couple of boxes ready just in case though. Sacks and garbage bags are also really helpful to set up your base because sacks allow you to move full amounts of dirt and place them somewhere like a roof, and having 4 garbage bags allows you to build a rain collector, which can be especially important when the water goes out in the world. Lastly, we have a blowtorch and welder's mask. This can be useful for making some metal furniture and using metal sheets to reinforce something, though you can get by with just a hammer, plank, and nails, so think of this as just an alternative and something not necessary. Now that we have the tools and location down, we're going to decide where we should stay and where we will reside for the most part. Now, for this school, we're going to exclusively be staying up on the 2nd story, as this is the most safe. But right now, we should just have an idea of where the bathroom is, and what room would be the furthest away from danger, how many entrances there are, and where zombies are most likely to attack from. Also knowing what furniture we can use for both storage and defense would be nice as well. Using this, we can get a good idea on how we want to defend it, and what we need to prioritize firstly. So, if we sleep in the break room upstairs, our main focus points should be to defend the stairs and hallways leading up to the stairs. Okay, now that we got the essentials out of the way, I'm going to be going over some basic security tips, all the way from simple plank barricades to more foolproof security plans. Alrighty, I'm going to start this off with a form of securing, which can help out with barricading, especially if you're in a fenced-in area. But essentially, if you can get some excess vehicles, you can place them at choke points to better help hold off the hordes. Now, before these used to completely stop zombies, but recently the devs nerfed it and now zombies can crawl under the vehicles, so it still kinda works at least slowing down the undead, but I wouldn't rely on them completely now. There are ways to work around the crawling though, but I don't have much expertise on the matter, but putting them behind windows and walls seems to work to help stop them from crawling over completely. Okay, now that we have that out of the way, let's pay a visit to the Riverside School on our character and go over some useful ways to secure this place. Since we decided to live on the 2nd story, my main plan of action is to actually block off and secure the stairs, which is the main danger. Now, in order to get past the problem of me removing the stairs, we'll be setting up escape ropes throughout the school. In order to set one up, you need a hammer, a nail, and 2 sheet ropes. You can make sheet rope from clothing, so it should be no problem. Now, I recommend setting up multiple throughout the base, as zombies can drag down these ropes, so having many throughout the area can save yourself being trapped and unable to go to the second story anymore. The first one is the most secure and simplest to pull off. All you need for this is a sledgehammer, and to make sure you have multiple safety ropes on the ready, as this is permanent. All we're going to be using is a sledgehammer, and we're going to simply destroy the stairs. With this technique, you will be the safest, as after removing the stairs, there is physically no way a zombie can reach you. The only problems with this method is that it's permanent and a lasting choice, as the only way you can make stairs again is to reach level 6 carpentry. So make sure you have a lot of escape ropes, but this is the safest way to secure a second story building. The second method is the least expensive, given you pick a big enough area, and that is using furniture to create a cheap barrier between us and the undead. Because we based up in the school, we have a lot of furniture to use for major entrances or exits, especially these desks in here, which we can pick up without any tools. In order to pick up furniture, make sure you're using the furniture pickup and place tool right below the inventory and health tooltip. This tool right here is slept on a lot and is very useful in all aspects of Zomboid. Now, one thing you want to make sure of is when furniture is up against windows, your character and zombies will clip right through it. So if you are using furniture, make sure there's a small gap of air, and that should solve the window clipping problem. The benefits of this is that it's easy to set up, as you don't need any skill requirement to place certain furniture, such as desks and fridges, and how cheap it is. Though the furniture can break very easily, so don't expect the zombies to be caught up on this for long. Though it can be great when combined with other techniques as well. It looks really cool on top of it. The last method is the simplest, and that is to actually build walls and barricades to stop the undead. This has the benefit of scaling with your carpentry levels, as the higher your level, the higher health pool your walls will have. You can also build doors and make the barricade as streamlined as possible. This is a really good method when combined with the furniture method, and is a great alternative to just breaking the stairs with a sledgehammer. The only downsides is that it does have a skill scaling, so it might take a bit to work up towards, and it also uses a lot of resources such as nails and planks to build. Though if you are strapped for nails, you can also just build log walls with just 4 logs and some ripped sheets. And just a quick note, the last 2 methods for securing the stairs can also be used anywhere else on your base, so feel free to leave a fridge or a wall outside your door or room if you decide to live in a normal home instead. This is just universal knowledge in terms of securing an area. Alrighty, now that we have the second story all settled in, working on the first story should also be nice to give us an extra layer of defense. So we'll be working with barricading a few of the windows and doors in the school. Now the main resources you're going to use for barricading these doors and windows are wooden planks, metal sheets, and metal bars. To start off with, we'll be using normal wooden planks. In order to barricade with a wooden plank, you will need wooden planks, nails, and a hammer. Each wooden plank you add to a window gives it extra health per plank. So the max you can have on a window is 4, leading up to 40 total HP on one side. Though one thing that a lot of people don't know is that you can actually barricade on the other side of the window as well, leading up to a total of 80 HP per barricade. Another little fact is that 3 planks on a window cut visibility lines, thus working as curtains as well. The second one we have are metal barricades. While aesthetically different, both the metal sheet and metal bar windows have the same HP of 100. So that means that there's around 200 HP of material to break if you double layer it. What you need for these is a propane torch, a welder mask, and either 1 metal sheet or 3 metal bars. One benefit is that you don't actually need any metalworking skills to use these, so keep that in mind if you decide to go for this. Alrighty, now that we got that out of the way, I'm going to be going over a few nice things to have and a few tips now that we finally have secured our base. We briefly touched on furniture being used for barricades, but there's also some more uses for these objects, so while you're looting, keep an eye out for these as they might help you out way more than what it seems. The water coolers in-game are one of the best things currently. They hold around 20 fresh bottles of water, only weigh 5 kilos, and are found readily throughout Knox County. If you come across some of these while going throughout the world, be sure to take them with you as they become incredibly useful when the water in the world finally decides to cut out. Just a few looting runs and you'll have enough water coolers to last you months. They're also refillable as well. Another thing to keep an eye out for is grills and barbecues scattered throughout the world. Like the water cooler, these are really useful to cook food after the power goes out in-game. They're usually powered by charcoal or propane. To also build on that, finding a wood stove is also very nice, as it both cooks food and heats up a room without power being necessary. You can find these either in warehouse crates, or within a few homes that have one of these, so keep your eyes out. Now, these last two pieces are actually needed to be crafted, but they're definitely nice to have around. The first is a water catcher, which is useful to have a replenishable source of water whenever the game decides to rain. Though you still need to disinfect the water directly, but this is well needed if you base up in an area where water or a river isn't nearby. The other is the compost box, and all it does is compost rotten foods that you wouldn't have used in the first place, so you can get fertilizer for your plants and even a few worms to snack on every now and again. Lastly, using either crates or metal shelves for storage is really nice to have. Both crates and metal shelves have a capacity of 50 kilos, with the crates being able to be stacked, and the metal shelves being able to be picked up without any skills, so these are very nice to have if you want to make a loot room. Now that we have all of that out of the way, we can dabble with three last things that I'd like you to know while making your base. The first one is rooftop farms. If you can support one, making a rooftop farm is always a nice addition that adds practicality and aesthetic to your base. All you need is a shovel or some sort of sack that you can transport dirt in. After that, all you do is fill up the sack, lay it on your roof, and that allows you to plant crops. To add on to that, learning how to make stick traps would be nice as well, as stick traps can be used in any environment instead of just being exclusive to wilderness. Just to make sure you use worms to bait the traps so you can catch birds with them. These two sources can add a lot to your diet, especially near the end game, so keeping this in mind is going to be really helpful. The second one will also make your life just a little bit easier, and that's setting up a basic plumbing system. This allows you to take a rain collector barrel and connect it through to a sink. Now, what this does is allow you to actually use a sink after the water shuts off, and the sink automatically filters out the water to be clean and safe to drink. Now, in order to do this, you need to place the sink yourself, and set the rain collector right above your sink. Now, the sink has to be placed by you, it also has to be placed in an enclosed area, and the barrel has to be up adjacent to the sink, not directly on top of it, so either of these tiles will work, just make sure you're not placing it directly on top. Lastly, this one is a bit more fun, but taking cool signs and posters from throughout the world really add a lot to the end game of Zomboid. So if you want a cool looking base that evolves over time, I highly suggest taking back a trinket or two to add to your base every time you go out. It gives your character a goal, and it makes your base look really lived in after a while. It's definitely a novel idea if you find yourself getting bored easily. Anyways, that's it for this guide. I hope y'all have learned something today. If you liked this guide video, be sure to check out my others on this game, and be sure to subscribe for more content. Anyways, I'll see y'all later. Peace out.